And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer, and we're discussing Big Sky episode 16, season 1 finale. It's over. It's done. But there will be a second season. They have been picked up coming in the fall. It's moving dates, I want to say. I think that was a big announcement the other day. It's moving to like Thursdays or something. So I guess that'll affect us in some way. Well, it'll probably be a day later. But yeah, I was a little frustrated by the end of this episode because I sat back and I said, you know what? Where the hell was this episode 5, 6, 7 episodes ago? Like, this is what I wanted. This is what I was talking about. The whole, if you go back and listen to our old reviews, or if you recall them, we kept bringing up this whole syndicate. We're like, okay, you set this thing up and then you just sort of ignored it. And in this episode, it's on full display. It's like, yeah, it is. We kept talking about the fact that we thought other state troopers were in on this. Well, guess what? They are. Um, we even made a joke about Rick Legowski having a twin. Well, I'll be damned. Ronald says he does, in fact, have a twin. So I get, potentially we'll get a Legowski return next season.
Old Richard Legowski.
So I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, they did plan this out. There was more story that synced up with the first several episodes. And now I think it's 100% confirmed in my eyes that when the show got picked up for the extension, they had no clue what to do. They made up the dumbass ranch story, and they just plugged it in. And if you watch this episode outside of, which we'll talk about in a moment, it was so stupid. The resolution with the ranch stuff. Clearly, this whole syndicate thing was always supposed to be the ending. This was what was going to lead into a season 2 if it got picked up for a season 2. The ranch thing, they just had to make up something. They clearly they just had to make up something, and that's what they came up with. Yeah, how did you feel about this episode?
Pretty close to what you just said, because we talked about how Ronald's story, this whole second half of this season, felt like it was developing into something. Like there was parts that we thought were ridiculous. There's parts that we thought were, a little outlandish. But that's kind of the premise for this entire show, is the ridiculous. But the whole Kleinsaucer's storyline just didn't make sense. Didn't feel like it mattered. It felt like a Marvel, Disney Plus property, where by the end of it, none of that fucking mattered at all. And we got back to the real story, and we talked about that prior to, where it felt like this was supposed to be episode 10, and then they just shoved 5 episodes in between it, or 6 episodes, whatever it was, in between the mid-season finale and tonight. And it was super frustrating because of, although I like the ridiculous parts of it, like it's what's made me tune in, but how this episode ended is what originally made me like the show. And it ended great. The tension build up, all the things that we joked about, like where's the syndicate? What's he going to do? Where's the thumb drive? Where's all this stuff? And all of that was answered. Every single thing.
Everything we questioned or had a concern with, and we're like, why were all these plot lines dropped? They all appeared in this episode.
Yeah,
even the one with the him and the birthday cake in the shed, like even that had resolution in this episode. And I'm like, wow, all of it did. So clearly there was a plan. They just had, like I said, they had to fill in a gap.
Well, and that too, when you talk about the finding the shed and like all that, it showed to me, at the beginning of the show, Ronald's mom kept saying, these dark tendencies you have, these things. Apparently Ronald's been fucked up for a long time, and his mom knew all about all the evil and twisted things he's done. And this shows what Ronald's mom was facing on a regular basis. Like he's twisted, something's wrong with him, and this isn't something new. Like this has been going on with Ronald for a long time. So, at the beginning of the season where we got this, feeling that Ronald just kind of finally snapped, like he was kind of being manipulated a little bit, or we felt like maybe he was being talked into doing some stuff and then kind of got too caught up. No, this motherfucker's twisted. Like he's had something wrong with him, and they explained all that, and it it just felt like a great ending because it re-explained all the loose end things that we were trying to bring up, and it was all brought together.
We get so Ronald has this epic plan, and he basically, I mean, there's code words, and he tells Scarlet retrieve this, the device and call this number. There's what was the name? John Milton. You're gonna get John Milton. You're gonna say, "I ate the fruit," like all this stuff, and I'm like, this is like some 24, stuff. And then we, this mention of the syndicate. We find out that Scarlet was in an institute for the criminally insane when she was a teenager. I mean, it was some comic book level stuff going on, but I was all into it. I was like, yes, this is cool. I like this. And then when they sent, I'm jumping all around, but whatever. When they sent those two assassins at the end in full tactical gear, they just, they crash into them. They're giving them new identities. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's a lot of plot holes, but it was fun. I mean, this is that pulpy, dumb shit that I love. And I'm like, where was this? Because I mean, this whole, like you said, the Klein saucers thing or whatever, it was wearing so thin. There was just not enough story there, and you could feel it. You could just feel that they didn't even want to write it, I think.
Well, it's almost like they just stretched out a story that they were probably going to tie up real quick when it was just 10 episodes. Because I think that they were probably going to have Ronald. Because remember, the end of episode 9, they dealt with Rick and stuff, but there was a little bit of filler towards the middle of episode 9 that stretched some things out. And I think they did that on purpose because Ronald meeting Scarlet, I think, was always intended. But they stretched even that part out because I think that was going to probably be the beginning of episode 10, was them meeting and then them getting together or whatever. And then by the end of it, it was going to go haywire. And so they just kind of slow played their whole relationship building up, which is okay because that was the part of the story that interested me. The Klein Saucers, as crazy it was, as much as I loved Rand and his wanting to build a maze and everything else, I just don't know how. I can't remember the girl's name now for whatever reason.
Cheyenne.
Yeah, there we go. The one we praised like the whole time with her activity.
She was good in this episode.
Yeah, and she did great, but it was just, it seemed to not matter, and it basically showed us that it didn't. However, her saying, "Hey, anytime you're ever here, look me up." I wonder if she's going to use her in the future for whatever reason.
Well, the resolution of that whole story, like I said, there's plot holes because there's no scenario I can imagine where they would be allowed to keep the ranch after they find all this toxic waste and dead bodies. But in the world of Big Sky, I guess she'll inherit the ranch. She'll keep it with her mother. Horace chokes to death. That's how we resolve that storyline. How many? I can't think of any scenario in my lifetime where I've hurled a handful of pills down my throat without a glass of water in hand, ready to go. I laughed when he died. I was like, whatever, fine. But
you mean when you take a handful of pills, you just take them dry?
Yeah, his whole process of taking pills is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like you make a point. Sometimes I'll sip a little water before, and then I'll put the pills in. I do one at a time. I've never done a handful of pills at one time.
I do all, but I don't. Yeah, I don't care. But anything more than 2, I can't take with just my spit. Like I gotta get some water.
But yeah, so that storyline's resolved. Basically, Cheyenne is going to run the ranch. She's got her mother. She's going to take care of her. And like you said, she goes to Ginny and Cassie and basically like, hey, if y'all ever need anything, you got me. Fine. It's something they can revisit if they want to. They could ignore it if they want to. The writers have some freedom there, some flexibility. And I'm sure that if they really want, there could be more secrets about the ranch that we don't know about that gets uncovered. So okay, and I like the fact that that whole storyline was literally maybe 5 minutes of the whole episode. I mean, they burned through it pretty quickly because they knew the audience probably, we didn't give a shit, and all the interesting stuff with Ronald was the highlight of the episode, and was quite good. I also
Maybe
thought it was.
the,
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe that's the tie-in to the supernatural universe. It was like on an Indian burial ground or something, and like they're. I'm trying to remember it's one of the spirits from that's called, I think they call it like a skinwalker or something. I'm trying to remember what they called it on Supernatural. It's one of the
Like season 1 or 2, right?
it was one of the early seasons.
Yeah.
On an Indian burial ground, and he came and was just wrecking shop.
I thought it was funny. So Jenny goes home and we see her son. And I'm like, oh, there he is. They have a little moment. Cassie never goes to see her son, or at least they don't show us.
No,
I thought that was funny. They didn't want to pay the actor to show up for her to be like, hey, son, it's been a while. And she wasn't even, remember, she asked Mark to go out for drinks. Mark ended up, staring at Ronald all night and not going. But so it's like, did she even go home, or did she just go out and drink all night and didn't see her son? I don't know. It's just funny that yet again going into the whole, they don't want to show the kids if they don't have to. And Cassie has a son. She lives with her dad, and we never see them. She never talks about them.
Yeah, there's like a whole family and everything. I don't know the last time we saw him. It was before the break. It was right before the funeral. So it was like episode 7 or 8.
We get the ending was okay. Let me jump before we go to the very end. I kept trying to freeze. I was watching it on Hulu, and I kept trying to figure out what was the state trooper's name, because he has his little name tag, and I was able to freeze it and read it. It said Dewey. he was State Trooper Dewey. Yes. So I thought that was interesting because remember you had a whole theory about the state troopers' involvement. And, the idea that there was probably that syndicate probably had connections within the state troopers. Like who else brought Rick Legowski in? And that was always the question. What got him into it? We know how Ronald got in. We got to see that, but we didn't know how Rick got in. And now I think we this somewhat answered that.
Yeah, because I said that like from the jump. Once we figured out Rick was part of this thing, I was like, and when his boss basically came to, rescue him, I was like, there's no way that they're not involved. Whether she is or not, I don't know yet. I think she probably is, but for it to happen the way it did, there's no way, even from the jump, I was like, they're involved. And then when we get confirmation, it just made me feel less crazy. Because the rest of this season, I was just like, are they never going to address any of those things? And then when they finally go back to address those things, I was like, okay, they were leaving us breadcrumbs that were trying to lead us in that direction. So it made me feel less dumb.
Well, it made me feel like, oh, there was a plan, because that kept becoming the puzzling piece to all this. Is like, is there no? What was the point of all those plot lines? And it's like, no, there was a plan. They just needed to hold off because they were saving it all for a season 2. And I was like, oh, okay. Because this syndicate has clearly got a lot going on. And clearly this John Milton is going to be something that I think plays a big role in the next season. Who is it? The fact that they were able to scrub the records of Scarlet that quickly, and they were giving Ronald and her new identities. I mean, they have a lot of connections and a lot of power, clearly. But Kelly,
you
go ahead.
I was like, I had something else pulled up, and I was like, God damn it. Yeah, but the whole time, like, it's just like you said, it makes us feel less crazy, and that the storyline was actually worth following, because it was one of those things where the plan finally came to fruition, and what they had going on was something that was fleshed out actually well. as opposed to what they were leading us to believe the last 6 episodes, where we felt like it was bullshit. But it was, they had a plan. And now going into season 2, I've heard that it's not going to be like the same writers and stuff. They said it's going to be a different showrunner and everything. But even knowing that, it's okay now, because now I feel like you see the direction they're going. You see the syndicate, you see the cops being tied in. There's so much there now without the Klein saucer bullshit kind of mixed in, that I'm excited about season 2.
And Mark would, so the ending, Mark is wounded, but it doesn't show that he's dead. So I still think that the idea is the reason he's there, and he's specifically on this case, is more so to do with the syndicate instead of necessarily Ronald. And so I think that's going to play a big role.
Oh, and we mentioned that too. Why bring up when he first came in? We're like, what is the point of him being here if it's not for the human trafficking part? Because he mentioned all these things about his sister, and they left so many clues about that for that not to be the reason. Over these last like 5-6 episodes, we're like, well, what's the point of even mentioning that stuff? And then the Klein saucer stuff ends, and it goes right back to the part of the story that we wanted to hear about, and it seems like it's tying directly towards him. And if I remember correctly, he was standing outside the car, and the EMT was checking on him. The sheriff had like his arm in a sling, because Cassie was looking around at everybody, and they showed him. I think Mark had just like, they were checking his head, like they were standing, like an EMT was checking his head, and then the sheriff had in a sling, and then Cassie was getting wheeled off, and then told her to
Jenny will get wheeled off.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Like, Jenny, that's a legitimate death shot. Like, I was like, I mean, I doubt she'll die, but technically she could. I mean, that was a hell of a round like that to go into where it hit. That typically kills.
Well, and depending on where, because it looked dead center, like center mass. So yeah. Even if it didn't hit a vital organ, which God, I don't know how it couldn't, depend, because it hit her like right below the old.
There's no way in hell. Yeah, like it would. Yeah, absolutely.
It would have hit something. But if it goes all the way through and misses the organs, there's still a chance that it hit the spine. Like there's a lot of possibilities that could have happened as far as damage to her.
Yeah, I mean, it's Big Sky logic, so she could be fine when it comes back, or they could kill her off, or they have options, and I think that's why, outside of a headshot, I mean, or even a chest shot would have been like, how the hell you survive that?
Well, shit, Rick got shot in the head.
Well, fuck, you're right.
Until his wife killed him with a hammer. Like
that was great.
Yes.
So Kelly, we do get the reveal on Kelly yet again, a callback to something we had seen, and we're like, what the hell, who's Kelly? And like you said, showing us that no, Ronald's been a psycho for a long time. There's always been hints, and we talk about this going back to the early episodes, little things he said. The show has always hinted that Ronald wasn't right in the head, and it was nice to see there was an actual story arc that was clearly somewhat mapped out. And I was actually very happy to see that. It was a very disturbing scene. I like, it felt like a Silence of the Lambs or something, the way they came into his little shed and saw the cakes, and him talking about the cat that he kept and connecting it to that story. So
7 the whole time. Because
yeah, that too.
Back of the car, like the whole singing and talking and stuff, it reminded me of 7, like so much.
What's in the box?
In the box.
So yeah. So you great point. Yeah, 7. Movies like that, and like I said, with the syndicate agents and everything. I mean, this episode was one of the best episodes of the season, and I was very impressed.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was expecting a train wreck and was going to be happy about it just because I was looking forward to how dumb and crazy it was going to be. but I was pleasantly surprised to find out that it wasn't dumb and crazy. It was good. And well, it was still crazy, but like,
Yeah, I got a few little things to bring up here in a minute, but yeah, for the most part, yeah, it felt like it was planned. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
100% felt like they actually mapped this out and they didn't just throw this last episode together. This was always part of the plan.
so I liked that, Ronald and Scarlett are in the vehicle. They're getting their new identities, and the guy is like, "Yeah, you're not going to get your daughter," and she's like, "That, that's bullshit." And they decide they're going to kill the guy, take the car. I was fine with all that. What I thought was odd was Jenny. This is where we get into the it's Big Sky territory. Jenny is like, "Hey, she's dying. She's lying there dying." She's like, "Go get him." And I'm like, go get Ronald." And so Cassie goes and grabs an assault rifle. She steals a cop car and takes off. And my immediate thought is, where the fuck are you going? Like, how do you don't know where he's at or where he's headed? Like, Cassie would have no. She picks up the phone, okay. So, but even then, I'm like, okay, you got the phone, so that connects you to this whole syndicate thing. Fine, but how the hell are you going to find Ronald? Now, my thinking was, okay, they needed a big, exciting, she's the star of the show, she's the hero, she's going into action, almost like a Jack Bauer type moment. Cool. And they ended in a way where it's a to be continued. So maybe she finds him, maybe she doesn't. The writers have a, a lot of options going into season 2. They could do a time skip, and they could be like, she chased him and she never found him, or they could pick up right after she does get him. I mean, they, like I said, they have options as far as what they're going to do. But it did make me laugh because I was like, "Where are you going?"
Well,
How you?
yeah. And with a flip burner phone, she's not going to be able to track it and like look it up or, ping it with her smartphone. Like she picked up an old flip burner phone and like she knew exactly where he was headed or she had a clue as to whatever. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And like you said, how the hell is she going to find him? Did she just picked a direction and drove that way? I that part boggled my mind. And the whole scene, and this has been my gripe the whole series has been Cassie. You have all these other actors that are not all of them because they're not all great, but they're they're good at what they're doing. So even if it's over the top, they're good at making it over the top. Like they're even Rand. Rand was great at selling us his shitty ideas. Like it was funny, but Cassie, for whatever reason, it feels like she doesn't want to be part of the show, and it's almost like she's doing somebody a favor and she's just doing a half-ass job. Because even when she was upset because Jenny got shot, it was real shitty. She was just like, "Oh my god!" Like the everything she said and did was not good. It just was. It
Well,
wasn't.
that's why we keep bringing up Cheyenne because for whatever reason, uh, she seems the most believable, even in the most ridiculous circumstances. Even in this episode, like the scene she was in was stupid. But I don't know. Like I said, maybe this is just an acting thing. She really did well in the scene.
Well, yes, she sold it. Like she made us believe her shitty circumstance.
Ronald sells it.
Yes,
Like bad actors.
all of that stuff is so over the top, but yet, like you said, you believe it. It makes it suspends that disbelief. You're just like, oh my god, this is really happening. But every scene she's in takes me kind of out of the scene a little bit, and I'm like, this is not great. But to me, it's funny, so it's still
I'll tell
entertaining
you.
to watch. But like, Jenny just got shot, and I'm like, oh shit! Like I'm supposed to have like this emotion because you have a sense of connection to this character, and then I started giggling because of Cassie.
They should have had Jenny die right then and had like Ryan Felipe walk over to her and she reaches out to him and embraces him and then she flatlines. Like he takes her away.
Dude, that would
Dude, that would have been the greatest. And then better yet, that exact thing happens. But her son gets there and he runs, he's like, "Mom," and he runs to her, and then and then Ryan Felipe looks at her and he's just like, you gotta stay for our son, and he walks off without her and just fades away, and then she's she survives, and her son's there holding her. That should have been
That
it.
would have been great.
Who talking about complaining about Cassie? I don't know, and I don't mean to be mean, but the guy who plays Jenny's son, I just don't like him.
I don't like.
I'm like, please, who? I don't know what it is, but I
I
don't
think
know.
it's
He
just.
just comes off as annoying.
I just hate his face. Like it looks super smug, like all the time. He just looks like a little arrogant shithead, and I don't like. Like, he's that kid that, like, when I was in high school, you just want to punch him because he's like something shitty to say about something. You're just like, shut up.
Yeah, but yeah, Cassie, I don't. I need to. I haven't done any research on the actress. I don't know what else she's been in.
But see, that's the thing is, she takes me out of the scene, and 3 seconds later, she's running back and forth. It's the over the top, like dramatized feelings that she's having, and that I don't buy any of. But she does a decent mad. So that's what I'm saying. She
she
doesn't.
does do a decent mad, and I you know what, I enjoyed the flirting, her and Mark
So
flirting.
die. But
Yeah, I
that
was.
part carries so many of the scenes because, like we said before, the first episode we were kind of on the fence. I was like, I don't know.
Because
But after that, I've loved him. I've loved Mark.
well, because my thought was, because I was even thinking watching that where she's like, "Hey, I invited you to go out for a drink," and knowing that he just sat there and stared at Ronald, I'm like, Mark, you're insane. you, she asked you to go out, and you were just like, "No, I'm going to watch Ronald all night." Like, dude, you're crazy.
He's not going.
I even like the line where it was real flirty, where he's like, "Well, are you still interested or whatever?" She's like, "I asked you for drinks, right?" She's trying to spell it out, like, "Yeah, I'm
Yes.
interested."
But like that scene, Mark carried that. And we've talked about Cassie and Jenny's chemistry like throughout the season. It hasn't been great. And when they're not in scenes together, it's great. When she walked away holding that rifle, like that was not necessarily powerful because it wasn't like super imposing or anything, but it made me believe that she was going after Ronald, even though she had no idea where he was, or she was stealing a cop car. Like all these things were ridiculous, but it made you believe that she was on a mission. Like they did a great job portraying that, but she doesn't do sad well. Like every time she was sad about Ryan Felipe's character dying, I was just like, well, that's stupid. Every time she got frustrated with Jenny, it was dumb. Every time she got sad because XYZ happened, I just didn't buy any of it. She does a good mad, but she does not do a good upset. And when you're trying to get to a show that's trying to draw emotion out of you, she did not do a good job of drawing that one out. That's
This is my last little complaint, and then that's about it in terms of this episode. They need to do more with Jerry. So you have the scene where she stops Ronald, she has the gun on him, but they didn't play it the way I think they needed to, because to me, I thought the idea was going to be she was going to shoot him or think about shooting him, and there needed to be a Mark being like, put the gun down, we got him. And her just like, no, you know what I mean? Like it's like they built that up, but then they didn't do it.
well, I
And
agree.
she really didn't have a whole lot after. And one more thing, she didn't have much after that. She did say, "Hey, I had a great night's sleep." Which is like, okay, yeah, he's locked up. You got a good night's rest. But I don't know. There needed to be a line of dialogue. So the comments section, talking about, I think it was the Richard Cheney, um, which we enjoy your comments. You comment on a lot of stuff, and it's always very interesting. Say, she needs training, or she needs to say something about training, Or, you know what I mean? And maybe there should have been a line where there's like, you know what, you did great today, and you're going into some program, and I don't know, something.
Yes, but now here's my thing. Now that the show actually has some kind of credibility, now that they tied all this shit back in, and I don't discredit everything they've done or said, that could be what spawns from this, because she was super excited. She, was at peace. She didn't shoot him. She didn't do anything. However, now he got away. So now she may be like, you know what? This is my mission in life right now. I'm going to catch him. And then Mark's like, all right, let me show you what you need to do. And then they train together. So that could be, the first couple episodes, or
That'd be great. Yeah.
backwards. So I think that they easily could do it. And I think that this was a good way to set it up, because she didn't really have to do anything. It wasn't unbelievable, because she didn't pull the gun out and like shoot him in the shoulder and be like, I disarmed him or anything. She just basically held a gun. She didn't do anything crazy.
I think I just wanted, and you're right. They did set it up, but I think I needed another line of dialogue. Jerry is a character that it's like, it seems like they want to do something with her, but they don't know what to do, and she's just sort of in limbo at the point. And then that guy that keeps popping up, it's like, who is this guy that hangs out with her? It's like, is it a boyfriend, a brother? Like, I don't know. Neighbor, just a random neighbor.
Yeah, none of that's been real clear just yet.
Let's see here. That's about all I gotta say. I am excited in that line of dialogue. I almost felt like they heard our review, or or maybe it was just that obvious when he's in the back of the car and he's talking about Rick Legowski, and he's just like, and he has a twin brother. And I was like, oh shit. I was so happy. I almost texted you right then. I was like, yes, we said that. We said that, maybe because we were like, how could we keep that, actor around, and how could we keep somewhat of that character? And it's like, what if he had a twin? That's stupid. But it's like, yeah, that's what the show does. Stupid shit. And that is perfect.
It would be a great way to keep Mary Lee in.
Yes.
Because Dick Legowski shows up at prison where Mary Lee's at, and like, hey, and she's like, oh my God, Rick, what? How are you still alive? It's like, I'm not Rick, I'm Dick.
Or, they could even do a thing where they end up letting her go. They're like, oh, she was, temporarily insane, and they could do some bullshit, whatever. She gets let free, and he comes in, and there's a lot of possibilities. So it's sort of exciting, because you're right. She was a great character. I praised that character back when she was in the show, and I was like, I really enjoyed her on the show. And of course, I loved Rick Legowski, and the fact that that actor could possibly return for a different character, but still could basically be the same. That's really cool to me. But yeah, that's about it. I was in shock. I was just like, damn, this was actually really good. I was like, damn, I wish we had one next week. Like I say, we know that. I tell you what, if this had not gotten a season 2 pickup, I would have lost my shit. I'd have been very pissed off.
Well, yeah, because I would have been pissed that they didn't just leave it at 10 episodes. And yes. Because if it would have ended with this episode without all the Kindslaughter stuff in there, I would have been like, it would have left me wanting more, but it wouldn't have been as bad. I would have just been mad that the studio didn't give them a second chance, but I wouldn't have been pissed off at the show. But had this not got picked up for a second season after all the Kindslaughter shit, like, I would have been pissed.
I mean, now we got Ronald and Scarlett, which, like I said, if they have freedom, and I don't know what those actors' contracts are. I mean, they could literally kill them off in the first episode next season if they wanted to. They have a lot of options going into the next season, and we'll see what they do. And having some time where they have more time to write and figure out, the plan. Who's going to be John Milton? Who's going to play that role? They're going to have to hire more people. This is a show, as we said, it's hinges on every episode ending on a major cliffhanger. Every episode goes into the next. It's not, each week is a different crime. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go into season 2. I'm actually excited about it, which is crazy. But yeah, any other thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, man, I just hashtag Dick Legowski.
Dick Legowski. So yeah, cool. What else we got? So yeah, like I said, this is the last review. If you're listening of this show, it's because it's over until next season. Check out the Mayor of Easttown reviews. I stopped doing. I did the Girlfriend Experience. I did the first 2 episodes, or no, the first 3 episodes. I didn't do one this week. I think I'm done with it. I don't really like doing reviews on my own. I've found. I mean, I could do it. I didn't care to.
Aw.
Some of my older, if it was going to be something like, if you go back in the channel and look at the early reviews where they're scripted, where I wrote scripts, that's fun. But just me on a mic talking like this, if I don't have you or Larry or someone, I don't care to do it. Simple as that.
Well,
Now, go
that
ahead.
being said, too, like when you're looking at a show that's supposed to be like week to week, it's hard to script something in time and come up with something. And
It would take time. I mean, I could, but I do want to do more scripted content going forward. I have ideas, but in terms of the week to week shows, I don't think I'll do it that way. We're looking at a couple other shows to maybe do. I think the only one that we've sort of settled on is Why Women Kill. At least Spencer and I will do that. Larry might. I don't know yet. And then Larry wants to do Loki. We might do that. At least me and Larry. I don't know if Spencer is going to do it. We're thinking about Rick and Morty. That's one. Larry and I are huge fans, and we haven't done any animation stuff, and that was something we were discussing. I don't know if we're going to do it. If you're interested, if you think that'd be cool, let us know in the comments. Is there anything else coming out that y'all would want us to do? Fear Street trilogy in July. We're talking about doing that.
Fucking remind me of being a kid with fucking R.L. Stein and
yeah. We don't typically do Netflix stuff only because they drop entire seasons, and I don't really like that. But we have discussed doing, maybe the first episode or 2 of a show and sort of giving you our fill on that, or breaking down what we liked or didn't like and whether or not we will continue it or not. So we're looking at different kinds of content for the channel. We're going into summertime. Schedules are odd in the summer, but we will still have weekly content. So yeah, anything else?
Don't think so.
So we appreciate everyone listening, everyone that's been on this Big Sky journey of ours. Like I said, we will definitely be doing season 2. That has been decided. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.